Hello everyone, MeNoHaxor here, bringing you guys a long-awaited Thresh commentary. Uh, I'm streaming this, or not streaming, but I'm recording this on a new setup, so hopefully the quality should be a bit better. And now that I've moved to a new setup, I hopefully will start streaming a bit more often, since I know a lot of people have always asked me to stream some gameplay instead of just recording things on YouTube. So I do have a stream now at twitch.tv/MeNoHaxor. I'll probably be posting videos on YouTube on when I am streaming, since I know I have a lot more people that watch me on YouTube than Twitch. So I'll start doing that a bit more as time goes by, and hopefully I can potentially make a schedule and we can start having more interesting content than just, record a gameplay, like post commentary like this, and maybe some live commentary as well. So this is going to be a Thresh Jhin game against a Lucian Janna. Overall, I think this lane matchup is quite even. I think this matchup is very dependent on whether or not I can land my hooks. And overall, I think Jhin Thresh is a pretty nice combo, because if I do land a hook, Jhin can follow up with his own CC, and then everything is pretty good. So here you can see that they got the level 2 first on us, so I made sure to try to get to back up and make sure we get level 2 before we start trading. But I missed my hook right there, which is really bad. I pretty much had to go for that 50-50 hook, because I wasn't really sure if the Lucian was going to dash to the left or right, so I had to guess. But unfortunately, he did dash to the left. So a lot of times as Thresh, you do want to try to get a read on your opponents, because since I know, at least in the elo I'm at, and pretty high elo, that my opponents are definitely going to be pretty smart and predictive about when I'm going to hook. So I do have to try to bluff a little bit and try to get a read on their movement, so that way it's easier for me to land a hook. Which you'll see later on. You'll see, I don't want to spoil stuff, but you'll see that I'll get some pretty interesting hooks by exploiting a couple tricks I'll show you as time passes by. So I think the only other interesting thing to note is that I started coin first. And I think recently a lot of Threshes have been starting coin a lot more often. I think that's okay, mostly because the bot lane has become a lot more passive now that everyone's still doing a lot of teleports and stuff like that. So I do think it's better just to play pretty safe, and I think coin is a perfectly fine option if you're playing a more passive lane matchup. And also, since Relic Shield is always getting nerfed so much, so coin is definitely fine on Thresh now. I think it's not a bad thing to get, but I probably wouldn't upgrade it. I don't think the upgrades for coin are that useful, because Talisman is super expensive, so not really worth in my opinion. But anyways, enough of that. Now you can see we're level 3, so I am going to look for an opportunity to try to fight again, since we are even in level. Before, I never tried because they were a level ahead on us. So you can see right here, there's a gap right here between these two range creeps. So I actually think this is a pretty good opportunity to go for a hook, because if I throw my Q perfectly in between these two creeps, it should be able to hit the Lucian if he's still standing about here. So I'm going to try to go for it. I do land a hook right here, which is really nice. Jhin also happens to land the bullet, which happens to bounce onto Lucian. We're going to get a nice follow-up from Jhin, and then I get to proc Thunderlords and get a nice fly auto. And that was a really huge trade for us. That was really big that we got that, because now we can set the pace of the lane now that I've landed just one hook, which is really good. Lucian has the pot-ups, now they have to retreat, and then now we can just start asserting lane dominance, immediately after Lucian got chunked. The Janna perhaps could have tornadoed a bit better. I do think it is her job to try to mitigate as much damage as possible, but she didn't really do a good job at that. But not really her fault, because that was a bit unexpected for Lucian to get hooked, so I don't blame her. Anyways, now that, once again, like I said before we started lane dominance, I'm starting to play a bit more up. Trying to auto them as much as possible, just get Flay, auto them every now and then, proc Thunderlords there. Got hit by Tornado for no reason, which kind of sucks. But I'm out a lot of pots now, which is a bit unfortunate, but I think that's okay, just because Lucian is at half and Jin's at full, so I'm going to keep trying to go for hooks. I was hoping to get greedy for some CS, but he didn't end up walking forward, so a bit unlucky, but that's okay. Since my hook is down, I do have to play a bit farther back, and at this point, Janna should try to be, shielding herself and start autoing me, because now that my hook is down, I don't really have any threat of hurting her that much, so she should try to be poking me. Throwing a W is good, but I feel like she should be autoing more to punish me. Anyways, I'm gonna ward up here just in case the Shen comes to gank. Not really sure where he is, but I know from before the Shen got set back a little bit from the jungle since the Jin Zhao came to invade him. So I know he's a little behind, so I went ahead and warded that. Anyways, you're gonna see here, Now, like, these creeps are about to die, right? And I do see that Lucian's in a little bit of bad positioning. He's not really respecting me right now because he has these 2 creeps right here. So my goal right now is that I'm going to wait for this creep to die right here and then throw out a hook. And you're going to see that, like, this creep is slowly about to die. And when I channel my hook, you can see that I'm channeling my hook while this creep is still alive, which is something that is a little hard to do, but I know that the Jhin is most likely going to try to Q this creep right here. So, or Q this creep or Q this creep. Just basically, I know he's going to auto or just kill one of these creeps before I throw my hook. So, since I'm going to do that, like, the Lucian's not going to be able to react in time because he's going to think that this creep is going to tank the hook for him. So, you can see right now, he threw the Q, and right when the Jin's Q killed the creep, my hook landed on the Lucian. He also dashed too, which is perfect. So, he dashed, I pull him in, and then I get the fly off, ignite him, get the Thunderlords. That's a really nice exhaust by the Janna to block the damage from the Jhin bullet, but then doesn't really matter because I'm going to flash auto him. I think that was pretty much perfectly played by me. I think the only bad thing was that I ignited a little bit too late because I didn't really negate half of the healing from the Lucian. And if I did do that, then the Jhin would have gotten the kill instead of me, and I didn't have to flash. So that was the only bad thing on my part. But, you know, I did land the hook otherwise, and that pretty much gave us a pretty big lead in lane since that was first blood. And now the Lucian's going to miss out on a ton of farm, and we can just start shoving in. Things are going to be pretty Gucci for us. I went ahead and lanterned the Jhin here just in case, just because I don't want him to be recalling so far up. It's better if he recalls all the way as far as possible, so he can walk back to lane without getting interrupted. So here, I actually go for a pretty risky buy and get mobility boots. Now, I think in most normal situations, I think it's perfectly reasonable just to get Sightstone boots, and that's totally fine. But I think I had about 1,000 gold, and so I decided that mobility boots, refillable, and a pink ward is the best option. So here with the mobility boots, I'm going to run mid, and that's mostly because I want to just leave the Jhin by himself now that I saw the Janna was recalling before, and the wave is also pushing up. So theoretically, the Jhin should be fine since the wave is pushing up to him, and he shouldn't have too many problems. Unfortunately, there was a ward mid, so I was seen, which does kind of suck, but it does zone out the rise from a bit of CS, which I think is perfectly okay as well. That didn't really cost me anything because now the wave is pushing back up, and you know, I can come back to Jhin, and Jhin like literally didn't miss anything, so it's definitely worth to try to roam a little bit if you do have mobility boots really early on. You can see here, I'm playing really aggressive because I saw the Janna was up here, so I know the Lucian's by himself, and I had to throw a hook and guess, but unfortunately the Lucian does dodge this hook right here, which is really good play on his part. If I landed the hook, that would have been really big. We could have gotten even more damage, but unfortunately I missed, and we traded pretty evenly. That was a really nice shield by Janna just to get a little bit more damage on Jhin, but otherwise not too big of a deal. I think that's okay to also fight really far up because when I lanterned the Jhin, like I can rewind this actually. When I lanterned the Jhin all the way back here, like note that the creep wave wasn't really fighting us, and what's really good is that even though we aren't necessarily winning this trade, the wave is pushing still towards our side. So during this entire exchange, like okay, there's one range creep hitting, but for the most part, like we're still fighting like in pretty much open area, and the wave is pushing towards us. So by the time this trade is over, Lucian's gonna come back, and then he lost, you know, probably about 4 or 5 creeps in the wave, and we get to freeze the lane now. So that was definitely a huge win, even if we weren't gonna get the favorable trade, and that's why I went for it with the lantern. So you can see we're not really trying to be too aggressive right now. Most of our summoner spells are down, so I'm not really looking to fight that much. Another thing to worry is that I wasn't able to... The problem with this build is that since I went mobility boots, I don't have any Sightstone wards, so I don't actually know where the Shen is, and if he does happen to be somewhere bot lane, that would be kind of bad. So it is safe for us to hug the tower for now, until we get sight or information of Shen. So I am starting to play a little bit more up, and that's only because I know Jin Zhao's in the river. So if the Shen does come, like through here, then the Jin Zhao can meet up and help us out. So that's why I walked up. And hopefully you can see me pressuring, and this is how I like to pressure mobility boots. Like I just start running up really aggressively. Maybe not necessarily even going for a hook or a flay or anything like that, just running up at them. You can see that Lucian just has to back off because he has to just respect me right now. Like they have to show so much respect. But anyways, now the Jhin is starting Dragon, and I really don't know why I actually did this because he's level 5, and I don't have any wards, so the Shen just shows up, and I'm like, this is kind of bad. Now, I couldn't block that dash because the Shen dashed Flayed. And I put a lantern down, but the Jin Zhao, I don't think was able to grab it because the Shen was standing on top of it, so he dies to red buff, which kind of sucks. And he gave up a free kill for no reason. Anyways, we know the Shen backed off, so that's okay. However, he is also level 6 and he has his ult, so I'm definitely not going to try to aggress too much because I don't want to get the tables turned around on us. Now, I know there's a pink here, but I'm not going to try to really fight for that because I don't know if the Shen is actually still waiting here because I don't have vision of anything past this tri-bush when I put the ward down. So if the Shen was waiting here and I tried to contest the pink, then I would just die, and I think that's a really big mistake. A really big habit I used to do a lot, and I think a lot of support players still do now, so definitely don't, like, if you know there's a pink ward in that bush, don't try to fight so hard to get it, just because it's not really worth the risk. Having the information's good enough, to be honest, and then you can go clear the ward later. Like here, I saw them running up here to stop the Lucian recall, so that's why I went for this pink here. I thought I should maybe go back and help the Jin, but he luckily got away with recalling just barely in time, so I was able to clear that pink for free, and now I can just run out. That was kind of nice. Now, I choose to recall right here, but I'm actually cancel it and take this farm because I realized that they just shoved the lane, and every time you see the wave just being shoved in by the enemy and your AD carry is just not even here, I think it's really important to just take the experience and the money. Like, you might as well just do that since you're usually really gold starved as a support, and take every opportunity you can to get a little bit richer. Did the best I could with the CS. I got like 1 or 2, which is fine. Now the Jhin goes back to Dragon again, so we know that the Lucian and Janna recalled from before, so I know that it's really safe to take Dragon now, so that's why I decided to go up now to try to help my team take it. If I were very generous, I would have tanked the Dragon before I recalled because I was going to recall anyways, but I didn't really care that much. Anyways, I now go for the Sightstone because I think the vision's really important, and the upgrade for the coin isn't really that useful in this situation since we're being quite aggressive. So I chose not to upgrade my coin in this regard. Now I do see the Echoes fighting. I'm going to try to run up right now to try to get a kill on the Rise. I go for a really ambitious flash hook, and that just barely misses. If the Rise happened to walk up this way instead of walking downward like here, I would have landed the hook for sure. That was going to be a max range. So that was that was pretty risky on my part, and I ended up blowing my flash for no reason, which kind of sucks. But I do see the Jhin survived, so I went ahead and get some vision just on this side of the river. It's like one ward here, one ward here. It's pretty much good vision, to that way from our perspective, we can pretty much see if the Rise is ever going to roam. Like if he's going to run down this way, we can see it. Or if the Shen is going to come gank mid, that's also really good vision. Now I'm going to run back to help the Jhin now. He's kind of sitting really far back, and the wave is kind of pushing a little bit towards their side, so I do need to give presence back instead of trying to roam. But you can see even now, like once again, with mobility boots, I'm just running up. I was only running up there to collect souls, but they were also still really scared right there. You can see once again, like I'm just going to run up to scare him. Now here I actually try to go for it, but unfortunately the creep aggroes towards me when I throw out the hook, which kind of sucked. But the Jhin did some really nice chunking there on Lucian. And then John is going to block the bullets really smartly. I tried to do some fancy like flay thing to move the Janna out of the way, but it didn't really work out because I didn't have the angle. I had to, like, although I missed the flay, I was trying to position myself so that I need to deflay the Janna like away from the Jhin, like perpendicular to the Jhin bullets. That's why I ended up playing this way, and I was hoping I was wide enough to hit the Janna, but it wasn't. That's why it looked really dumb, but the idea was almost there. It was going to be a really fancy play. Anyways, I ward just barely in time because the Shen was walking here. So now we know the Shen is bot, so that's really good information. I'll go ahead and set up a pink ward here because I wanted to make sure that if the Shen does end up coming to gank, that he doesn't come through this way since I was out of wards. Now, here, what I ended up doing is that I throw a lantern here, and this doesn't make a lot of sense because normally you throw out the lantern like this if my Jhin Zhao is going to come to lane gank me. So I wasn't really quite watching top. I thought the top wave was a bit farther pushed up because I didn't actually check. But the idea was that the Jhin Zhao was going to wait here, and the Irelia was going to push up and they were going to gank. And at the same time, I was going to throw my lantern out and then just run at them because that way the bot lane thinks that the Jhin Zhao is bot. And then they'll start pinging that like, oh, you know, like Jhin Zhao is here. but the Jinzai was actually top. That was the idea with like this kind of weird mind game, but didn't really end up working out since I very severely mistimed this, and the Jinzai also got seen by this pink ward, so I wasn't able to see that he got seen by this pink ward, but ended up bluffing that for no reason, but did end up spooking them a little bit. I think especially in ranked 5s, that's a really good strategy, but in solo queue, probably not so much. I guess I was kind of bored, so I just did that. Missed a play right there, which is kind of bad. Does a good dash back and positioning by Lucian. But once again, didn't really cost me that much since I was at full mana anyways. It was okay. Lane is pretty tame again. Nothing really happening. Like, John and I just running back and forth at each other, trying to scare each other. Don't really want to trade right now since the shield is up, but right when the shield goes down, I'm going to try to go for that play right here. So, Jin got a really nice chunk on the Janna, so just barely missed that root. If that root landed, I definitely would have gone for the hook, but it wasn't really guaranteed. Now, here, the Lucian does dash forward, and he commits here, so now I'm going to go for the hook. This is a definitely guaranteed hook since he already dashed. Now I'm going to pull him in, get the flay, trying to get him inside the box, but unfortunately he doesn't do that, and he actually ends up backing up into the box, which I think was a really bad idea, because now he got low enough for the Aurelia to come in. Now the Aurelia is going to TP, they went in for the dive, and now the Shen ult comes up. So this is where it gets kind of sketchy, because we definitely can't kill the Janna fast enough since Aurelia got exhausted, and we're under tower. Jhin is also super low. So we have to back off right now. I'm going to throw my Lantern just so Aurelia can just can save one more turret shot. And now I know the Shen is going to go for the dash on the Jhin, so I get a barely like max range flay to save the Jhin for a little bit, but Shen ends up flashing, which kind of sucks. We did get the Shen flash though, which is good. Aurelia goes back in for the Janna, which is nice, and then now I'm going to try to save the Aurelia. So just sitting with her right now, just making sure that the Shen doesn't just go in and try to kill her. Although she is quite strong, so I'm not really that concerned for her. But she ends up tower diving right here, which I think was a really big mistake. I think she was a bit greedy, and I think she should have just pushed the wave with me, and then we can just tower dive under the tower so that way I can take the turret for her. But she ended up just going straight in, which, I mean, she got the kill, but I don't think that was worth it, in my opinion. Anyways, I am quite rich now, so once again, instead of upgrading the coin, I decide to go for Kill Gem because I want to get an early Aegis and lock it for us. And CDR is also quite nice on Thresh, so I figured the Kindle Gem was a nice buy since I had a weird amount of money. I also immediately go down to plop down these two wards right here. This ward and this ward is really good because this gives us complete vision of their red side area, and I know that their red is up now, which is really good information since if we ever want to steal the red, or if the Shen is ever at red, we can possibly invade it and take it from him if we really want. So this is really crucial information that I placed, and I knew that was safe to place because I saw that the bot lane was here, and if the Shen happened to be here, I can outrun him and I can flay him if he ever dashes. So I'm never actually scared of Shen. Now here, I think Lucian was trying to freeze, but he didn't end up seeing me because I walked all the way around here. So I ended up getting a hook and a lot of nice damage on him. The Jhin barely missed, which kind of sucks. And he does have ult, but once again, we don't really want to overcommit because we don't know where the Shen is once again. So we decide just to play it a little bit safe. Now I am running really forward pretty aggressively right now, just to scare them under tower, but now we do see the Shen is right here. So now we're just going to back off. So I play right now, preemptively, in case he taunted, and I had to flash right there, because if I got taunted, I definitely would have died. But the Echo did TP, so I tried to go for the hook, but the Janna flashes, and I ended up hitting the Shen instead, which is kind of funny. And then I was thinking the Shen was going to go in for the taunt, which is why I boxed down here, but he actually ended up not taunting. He just ended up retreating, which kind of sucked. So once again, my box looks really stupid, but I'm trying to do a lot of predictive things, because if a taunt were to happen, it would be very disastrous for us. Now we do see the Shen is walking up, which does tell me that there's probably going to be more reinforcements. I unfortunately didn't get the flay off this time, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, like, the Shen is really far up, and we have Echo, so I'm not really that scared. I throw out the Lantern just in case they're going to commit for the Jhin even more. And the Rise also does come in here, and I actually go for the hook on the Rise. Now, I went for the hook on the Rise because I know the Shen is probably going to die since Echo and Jhin are focusing him, and it isn't really worth hooking a target that already uses taunt and already uses dodge, and the Shen practically isn't, like, doing anything. And the Rise just TP'd in with his ult, and I know that he's pretty strong, so I'd rather go for the main damage threat hook just to slow down his damage a bit. So I did get blown a little bit by Janna, which is nice. So I actually start retreating a little bit, since the Echo's in kind of a bad spot now, since it's 3v4 and the Jhin hasn't quite arrived. Now, I don't know why he didn't ult here, but he just did an ult, and we end up dying, which kind of sucks. So we just end up retreating for now. That's okay. We see the Jhin is here, but I'm not going to help him. It's a little hard to help him since, once again, it's 3v4. I get one word right down here, but my vision from back here does give the Jhin enough information to make a smart decision on where to run. So he runs over here since he saw that no one was coming. And now the Janna is actually recalling on my ward, which is really nice, because now I'm going to come in with the Jhin. I know she's about to complete a recall like right now, so I'm going to go for the hook right when the Jhin goes in, and we end up getting pretty much a free kill right under their nose, and the Ryze was sitting here. So that was good that we bursted him down. Vision wins games, which is quite nice. Now, I lanterned the Jhin right here because I thought he was going to smite and just take it. And it does end up smiting right now, it just came back off on cooldown. And I was hoping he'd just take this lantern, but he didn't, which tilted me off the face of the earth. This is like the most annoying thing as a support, you have no idea. But he ends up not taking the lantern, which is fine. And then the Jhin wants to do dragon now, so I'm just like, fine, I'll just help you. And I'll take the dragon because I'm spiting him right now, so... I end up running mid instead. I was really hoping one of these creeps would die so I can go for the hook right now. I had to guess the 50-50 if he would go upward or downward. I missed the 50-50, but I don't think it would have mattered that much because I don't think that Echo and I can burst him because Echo doesn't have a lot of burst. Anyways, running back down because I saw the Jhin was here, and I know the Jin's camping because he wants the bot lane to come back, and then we're going to jump on them again. So I like this idea, so I'm actually going to follow him into this bush. I was thinking about retreating, but then I was like, I can probably help him. So the Janna just comes right now, so we're going to jump on the Janna. Now, I flay back the Janna, going to go for the box just to trap her in, and then I go for the hook. Now this ordering was probably not the best ordering, now that I'm thinking about it, but I wanted to make sure that the Janna was just like at least locked inside this cage. And unfortunately what this ended up doing was that I ended up pulling the Janna away from the Jhin, which really sucks because now the Janna is just going to barely live because she's going to get off her ult like right now, I think. No, she gets off a Q and she gets to heal from Lucian. So she doesn't even die yet, which is really bad because now the Jhin tanked a lot of damage from the Lucian. Gonna ignite the Lucian. Throw the lantern out just in case to try to give the shield to the Jhin if he needed it. But the Lucian's retreating now. I can go for a hook. Land the hook. Make sure not to pull the Lucian anymore, because that way the Jhin can land the next shot, because I saw he missed the W before, so I don't want him to miss the next shot. So I would say the only bad thing about that was that I probably could have initiated with the hook first. Or I could have done the flay and then the hook and then the box, which actually I think is the most ideal ordering for this kind of situation, because putting the box first and then the hook last kind of made the Jhin mess up because he kind of realized too late that the Janna was hooked, and then me dragging the Janna messed up his positioning on his W. So that was a bit of a misplay on my part for sure. Anyways, we're running mid, but we see the Kingdom was here, so I was like, this is kind of an awkward situation. So I just leave the Jhin and I just like hook the Ryze and stuff like that because I need to get out, but I wasn't really that concerned. I saw the Ryze was going to teleport here, so I actually end up running south, so that way I don't get intercepted by him. And the Ryze just brings everything, so I was just really spooked. And I'm just running as fast as I can. Now, I know that the Ryze has vision of me since he does go for the sight ward, so I know running upward like this is a really bad idea because this is definitely in range of his Q. So the only way he can dodge his Q if I start running like as far away as possible from him. So I'm going to run like literally as far away as possible instead of running upward, and I end up dodging that Q completely. And that lets me live since I have mobility boots that popped up again. So that was pretty crucial that I ran not on a predictable path. Now, I go for a really risky play now because I know that since the Ryze just put the ward right here, he probably doesn't have any more vision of this uphill area. So I know that I'm pretty safe if I go back in for this fight. And I saw that my Aurelia was trying to go for a kill right here. So I try to go for the hook, try to stop the Shen from dealing damage, but it seems like the Aurelia is in a really bad spot now, so I'm going to give the lantern to the Aurelia. And she ends up grabbing the lantern like literally just in time. That was really, really close. She lives with 100 HP. So that was a bit risky for me to go back in, but I made a lot of calculated risks, I think is the best way to put it. Because if they did happen to have vision to me, that would have been super bad. I probably would have died. But, knowing that it didn't have vision, I was able to save the Aurelia like that, which is quite nice. Now, I do have money for my locket, so I went ahead and bought that. It's going to be really helpful for us in these next upcoming fights, because having the magic resistance is quite nice for my team. Now, I saw that Jono was up here, so I'm going to try to get vision. Also try to help with the Jhin right now, since the Rise was here. Now, I just go for the hook, because I went for a very, very aggressive hook, because I knew that, like, he was probably going to flash as soon as he saw my hook animation, right? And if he was going to flash, I would have guessed he would flash, like, forward, which is the most logical place to flash, but he actually ended up flashing this way and failing his flash. And I think if he didn't fail his flash, I might have landed the hook on him, because he would have gone over the wall. But who knows? Burning his flash is quite nice. I think if I wanted to be really safe, I could have gone for the flay, but I don't think a flay would have really made a difference, because then he was still going to flash regardless, so I didn't think the flay really mattered, in my opinion. I think getting the hook lockdown was a lot more important. Anyways, I see the Jhin is like here, and I throw the lantern because I thought he was going to run, but this guy is crazy and just dies, so I don't know what he's doing there, but this Jhin does not like to grab my lanterns for whatever reason. Anyways, I go ahead and upgrade to Ruby Sightstone. I think Ruby Sightstone's a really good upgrade, and I would have gotten this earlier, but I didn't back many times this game, so it was really hard for me to find an opportunity to get it without getting better items, such as, like, a locket, so oh well, not too big of a deal. We forced the Shen ult, so I lanterned the Aurelia away. No real reason to commit like that since the Jhin wasn't with us at all. And Ruby Sightstone's really nice now because now I have 4 charges, and it also gives you a ton of HP. Like, I have 2,000 HP right now, which is really nice as a support. Anyways, I'm going to hook the Shen out of his little zone, which does end up doing a fair amount of damage to him since he had to take a lot more. Throw a box when Kennen ults so that way he can't approach us anymore. I also put the lantern for the Echo in case he wants to take it, so he actually ends up ulting, but he got stunned by the Kennen immediately. If he reacted fast enough, he might have been able to get it, but I'm not quite sure. Anyways, the Aurelia's kind of caught, so I'm going to try to loop around to help her, just in case. But this actually ends up being warded, so she just ends up running back, I think. No issue. Now this is kind of a risky fight, just because the Jhin is really out of position. So I'm going to lantern him out, just because I saw the Lucian charge up his thing. And honestly, this is just a really bad fight since Jin's out was top. So I'm just going to tell my team to get out. It's not really worth trying to fight at all. It's important not to get tunneled and caught up in just these little skirmishes when you don't have your entire team with you. Go ahead and go for another recall. I didn't really buy anything once again, just stocking up on pink wards. At this point, I think upgrading coin is entirely pointless, so I don't even go for it anymore. Just gonna build other items. For example, I think Zeke's or Crucible might not even be that bad this game. Not really doing much, just pushing this mid wave just because there's nothing to do. Saw the Jhin is here at our raise, so I lanterned the Jhin out because he looked a little caught by the rise. Finally takes my lantern, it's just nice. And now I'm gonna just try to get vision of this dragon area since I saw my team was gonna do it. Make sure that no one's here, make sure I don't have vision, so I'm gonna sweep the area. I felt pretty safe just because I had these deep wards here already, so I knew if someone was going to be in the area, I would have seen them already. So that's why I went in. But generally, I would not advise trying to go for super deep vision on your own. Now, I'm going to shift my ward focus towards Baron. So if you took the dragon, the only other real objective for us to take is mid tower or Baron. So I decided to put my first ward right here just because this is a really good ward for catching rotations from their top lane to mid. And if we go to Baron, they'll probably run through this tunnel right here. So that's why I put a ward there first. I also left one ward right smack down in the middle of the lane just in case we go to Baron and they try to run through this way. So that way you can see this rotation over here. Now I go for a hook. Barely miss a Lucian, which kind of sucks. Now, I don't know why the Echo went in right here. I guess he got a flank. I don't even know if this is a flank. But, trying to use my entire combo. We end up doing a lot of damage to Rise, but isn't quite enough to kill him just because I think Janna shielded and ulted. So the Echo just dies for I don't know why. I think that was really ambitious to dive like that when there's only 3 of us and there's a Janna. I think it's a really dumb idea, actually. That was pretty foolish. Anyways, the Jhin is picking for the Baron. Aurelia is super strong on our team, so they're just going to 2-man it for now. I'm just going to make sure that they don't have vision, and I'm just going to start heading up there now. So, I'm going to start doing it for a little bit, bring the Jhin over, and now we see the Shen. So right now, the Baron's about to die, and it's like my only goal right now is to make sure that Shen does not get in range for this. So I'm just going to run up and just zone him out. And make sure, like, Flay, make sure he can't even get in range of Smite, like if he flash dashes and smites and stuff like that. So I end up getting the Flay, end up getting the hook because he's slowed. Then we end up getting a pretty free kill, so that's quite nice. Now, we saw the Jhin was ulting them, so we're going to run up. Try to get them, but that was a pretty nice tornado by Janna, so no dice, unfortunately. I'm going to put one ward over the cliff right here because I know that we're most likely going to be taking this mid tower now that we have Baron and we're pushing. So having vision right here is really important because we can pretty much see like who's standing behind the tower right here. And if there is someone standing behind here, I can walk behind here and hook if someone is standing there. So Aurelia just goes ham, like what the heck. But make sure she gets a lantern, lock it, just in case for good measure. Pretty useless lock it though. Oh well. Now I'm going to run down bot since I saw that they were diving this Kennen, which I think is insane once again. But they end up doing it since we have Baron, they're pretty tanky, no issue. Now it's Aurelia once again. Kind of crazy, but you end up starting and the game's over. So, overall, although Aurelia did really well top, like we did do really well bot lane with my hooks and just applying a lot of pressure early on. I think having a vision of their red side jungle early on was really important for us, mostly because like once I got mobility boots and I started roaming mid and getting vision of the jungle, I was putting so much pressure on the map. Like you saw how many times the Ryze like couldn't approach the mid lane anymore because like I would just run mid instead of going bot, and the Ryze just had to forfeit a lot of CS. He had to play really scared, and then having the vision over here in the red was really good because it helped us secure dragons and we got picks in the river, or not in the river but in the jungle. So I would say that there definitely is some risk to getting a mobility boots build first, but you can see how if you do play it right, like having mobility boots is really good for map pressure and even lane pressure just by running back and forth in lane and just applying a lot of pressure there. But I think in most general cases, I would probably just play safe for a sight zone. Like, for example, you could argue that if I had sight zone, I could have played a lot safer. I didn't have to play as safe, and I could just ward up the river here, not be so scared of Shen, and just kind of run up and fight them. So, there's a lot of different situations, but I thought that going mobility boots was definitely warranted for this game, and it ended up paying off reasonably well, since we ended up snowballing pretty hard and ended up winning this game. So, that's pretty much it for this commentary. Once again, I'll let you guys know when I start streaming a bit more on Twitch, and hopefully you can catch me there. So, thanks for watching.